Touch me again, and I'll break more than your pride, you arrogant thug. The words sliced through Lux Noir's pulsing bass like shattered glass through silk. Every phone in Seoul's most exclusive nightclub turned toward the bar where Zara Okoye stood, her Nigerian accent cutting sharp edges into Korean syllables. The strobe lights caught the fury in her dark eyes as she yanked her wrist from Ji-hoon Kim's manicured grip. Ji-hoon's Armani suit absorbed the neon purple washing across the VIP section. His jaw tightened. No one spoke to him this way. Not the heir to Seoul's shadow empire. You dare. I dare because you grabbed me like property. Zara's hands steadied against the marble bar, though her pulse hammered against her throat. Your money doesn't buy you the right to touch anyone. The music dimmed. Patrons pressed closer, devices already recording. In the corner booth, his lieutenant shifted, waiting for the signal that would end this bartender's defiance. But Ji-hoon raised one finger. Wait. Serve me. His voice dropped to velvet wrap steel. Or make this night interesting. Before I tell you why that decision cost me everything, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna. Because some stories about power and pride are too dangerous to keep buried. Zara's laugh came bitter and bright. Interesting. She grabbed the Chateau Margaux from the top shelf, the 2 million Korean won's bottle his table had ordered. You want interesting? The bottle met the edge of the bar with calculated force. Crystal exploded across Italian leather shoes, wine spreading like blood across the white marble floor. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, "She's dead." That's 500,000 Korean wons for the glass you just made me break. Zara stepped through the wine, glass crunching beneath her practical flats. Pay now, or security holds you while I call the real police. Not your bought ones. Ji-hoon's eyes narrowed to obsidian slits. The entire club held its breath. His hand moved to his jacket, not for a weapon, but for his wallet. He pulled out black cards, letting them fall into the wine. You'll regret this, bar girl. I already regret breathing the same air as you. The manager materialized from the shadows, his face pale as winter kimchi. Mr. Park's hands trembled as he approached. Zara, you're fired. Clear out your locker. Don't come back. She'd expected it. The moment she'd seen Ji-hoon's face, recognized him from the business headlines and whispered warnings, she'd known. But someone had to stand up to these untouchable princes who treated Seoul like their playground. Fine. She untied her apron, letting it drop into the wine. But he still pays for the glass. Ji-hoon stood, his height casting her in shadow. You have no idea what you've just started. Neither do you. The crowd parted as she walked through them, chin high despite the tremor in her knees. Behind her, she heard Ji-hoon's quiet order to his lieutenant. Make sure she understands the price of disrespect. Outside, Seoul's November wind bit through her thin uniform shirt. Her phone buzzed. Already the video was spreading. Hashtag pay the glass. Hashtag bargirl versus Mafia. Her Nigerian mother would have been proud of her backbone. Her Korean father would have called her foolish. Both would have been right. By morning, the consequences arrived in systematic waves. I'm sorry, we're not hiring. The words became a rhythm across Gangnam, Hongdae, Itaewon. Every bar, every restaurant, every cafe she'd built connections with over 3 years suddenly had full staff. The manager at Amber Lounge, where she'd worked weekends, couldn't meet her eyes. It's not personal, Zara. But we can't afford to anger the Kim family. Her phone buzzed. Temi, her best friend since their first bewildered days as foreigners in Seoul, saw the video. You're brave, but stupid.
Can't be seen with you now.
Too toxic. Stay away. The betrayal stung worse than the blacklisting. Temi had cried on her shoulder through 2 breakups, borrowed rent money, shared kimchi jjigae at 3 a.m. after brutal shifts. Now she was ghost smoke. Her scooter, the ancient Honda she'd saved for months to buy, vanished from her apartment complex. The security footage mysteriously corrupted. Her landlord knocked that evening, envelope in hand. Rents doubled. Effective immediately. That's illegal. My contract. Sue me. His eyes darted nervously. Or move out by Friday. She was calculating how many meals she could skip, when the loan sharks appeared. Two men in cheap suits, standing outside her Gazawan's entrance. Miss Okoye? You owe 2 million Korean wons. I've never borrowed from you. Your signature says different. They produce documents, forgeries good enough to pass casual inspection. Interest compounds daily. Mr. Kim sends his regards. The taller one smiled, revealing gold teeth. Pay by month's end, or we collect in other ways. After they left, she sat on her narrow bed, staring at the water stains mapping territories across her ceiling. Her phone showed 17 missed calls from her sister in Lagos. The video had traveled that far already. She turned it off. 3 days later, she was heating cup noodles on her illegal hot plate when engines growled outside. Through her window, she watched a white Bentley block the alley's only exit. Ji-hoon emerged, every line of his body radiating controlled violence. She met him at the building's entrance, refusing to let him corner her upstairs. Come to gloat. Come to offer mercy. His cologne invaded the narrow entry, something expensive that probably cost more than her former monthly salary. Apologize publicly. Say you were drunk, not thinking clearly. Beg my forgiveness. I was stone sober, thinking perfectly clearly, and I'd rather gargle glass than beg you for anything. His hand shot out, not to grab but to brace against the wall beside her head. She smelled whiskey and something darker on his breath. Do you know how many people I've destroyed for less disrespect than you've shown? Do you know how little I care about your fragile ego? Something flickered in his expression, surprise, perhaps, or something more dangerous. You're either very brave or very stupid, Zara Okoye. Maybe both. But I'm not afraid of you. You should be. His free hand reached up, fingers barely grazing a strand of her hair that had escaped her ponytail. I own this city. I own everyone in it. You don't own me. Not yet. She ducked under his arm, breaking the cage he'd built with his body. Not ever. Now get your compensation mobile out of my alley before I call reporters about the mighty Ji-hoon Kim harassing unemployed bartenders. His laugh followed her up the stairs, low and promising retribution. Every door that closes on you, every friend who abandons you, every meal you can't afford, remember that you chose this. I'd choose it again tomorrow. We'll see about that. The Bentley's engine roared to life, but through her window, she saw him pause before entering. He looked up at her floor, and even from this distance, she could see his smile. It wasn't cruel anymore. It was something worse, interested. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text contained a single image, her parents' wedding photo, the one she'd posted on Instagram years ago. Her Nigerian mother radiant in traditional dress, her Korean father attempting to dance to Afrobeat. Below it, 2 words. Beautiful family. The threat was clear. But Zara had survived Lagos street markets and Seoul's xenophobia. She'd built herself from nothing once. She could do it again. What she didn't know, couldn't know, was that Ji-hoon Kim had already decided she was his, not to destroy, but to possess. In his Bentley, speeding toward Gangnam, Ji-hoon gave his next order. Double everything. But don't let her starve. I want her desperate, not dead. His lieutenant hesitated. Sir, perhaps. Did I ask for your opinion? No, sir. Ji-hoon watched Seoul blur past his tinted windows. For 3 years, he'd been surrounded by people who bent like reeds before he even had to push. Then this Nigerian bartender, this nobody, had looked him in the eye and demanded he pay for broken glass. The audacity of it. The magnificent, infuriating audacity. You have no idea what you've started, he murmured to his reflection in the window. The electricity had been cut for 3 days when Zara started selling jollof rice from a makeshift cart near Hongdae Station. December's teeth bit through her knockoff North Face jacket, the one she'd bought optimistically during better times. Her fingers, stiff from cold, struggled with the portable gas burner she'd borrowed from Mrs. Chin downstairs. Best Nigerian jollof in Seoul. Her voice competed with street musicians and the endless river of footsteps. Most people walked past without looking. The ones who did look saw her afro, her dark skin, and moved faster. A young couple stopped, drawn by the smell of Scotch bonnets and curry. How much? 8,000 Korean wons. They exchanged glances and walked away. She'd already lowered the price twice from the 15,000 Korean wons she'd charged at food festivals when she had a reputation, a food handling permit, and hope. By noon, she'd sold 3 portions. The profit wouldn't cover the gas canister. Her stomach cramped. She hadn't eaten since yesterday's handful of expired kimbap from a convenience store dumpster. Pride had a bitter aftertaste. Zara? She turned to find Moon Soo-jin, a regular from Luxe Noir who'd always tipped generously. The woman's designer bag probably cost more than 6 months of Zara's former salary. Soo-jin. Zara forced brightness into her voice. Want to try authentic Nigerian cuisine? Soo-jin's eyes traveled from the cart to Zara's unwashed hair. I heard what happened. With Ji-hoon. Then you know he deserved it. Nobody deserves Ji-hoon's attention. Good or bad. Soo-jin pulled out her wallet, extracted 50,000 Korean wons. For the jollof. It's only...
Keep the change.
And Zara? Leave Seoul.
Tonight.
This is kindness, not charity. Before Zara could respond, Soo-jin disappeared into the crowd. The money felt heavy in her palm. Running meant admitting defeat. But staying meant the spray paint came out of nowhere. Red letters across her cart, her jacket, her hair. Kim's mark. 3 men in motorcycle helmets stood behind her. The one holding the paint can laughed. Ji-hoon says hello. They knocked over the pot of rice, kicked through her supplies, and vanished into the subway entrance before anyone could react. The businessman who'd been approaching her cart turned sharply away. The elderly woman selling roasted chestnuts nearby packed up immediately. Kim's mark meant untouchable. It meant plague. Zara knelt in the spilled rice, red paint dripping from her hair onto the food she'd woken at 4 a.m. to prepare. A child pointed at her. The mother pulled him away, whispering about dangerous people. If you're watching this thinking I would have done the same thing, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna. Because the choice she's about to make will change 3 lives forever. She salvaged what she could and wheeled the vandalized cart back to her gazon. Mrs. Chen's door slammed shut as she passed. In her room, if 8 square meters could be called a room, she scrubbed paint from her skin until it went raw. The jacket was ruined. The cart would need repainting. Money she didn't have for damage she hadn't caused. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number, but she recognized the voice note immediately. Ji-hoon. Stubborn doesn't suit you. Neither does poverty. 1 word of apology, and this ends. She sent back her own voice note. Your threats are weaker than your character. 20 minutes later, her landlord arrived.
Out. Now.
I have until Friday. Not anymore. He wouldn't look at her. Kim's mark means immediate eviction. Building policy. Since when? Since 5 minutes ago, when I decided I like having unbroken kneecaps. She packed her life into 2 suitcases and a backpack. 3 years in Seoul reduced to what she could carry. The Nigerian embassy would offer emergency repatriation, but returning to Lagos meant admitting her parents had been right. She should never have chased Korean dreams with African roots. The Han River looked black at 2 a.m. She sat on a bench, suitcases beside her, watching Seoul's lights reflect like broken promises on the water. Other homeless people dotted the riverside park, but even they kept their distance. Kim's mark was visible even in darkness. You're not jumping, are you? She looked up at the speaker, an elderly security guard she recognized from Luxe Noir's neighbor building. Mr. Jung had always smiled when she'd passed his post. Not today. He sat beside her, offering a thermos of coffee. I remember when Ji-hoon's father ran things. Brutal but fair. The son.
He shook his head.
The son has his mother's beauty and his grandfather's cruelty. You knew his mother? Everyone in the old guard did. Adiz Kim, Nigerian princess who thought love could soften Korean stone. Mr. Jung's laugh held decades of sorrow. She died believing it. Adiz. A Nigerian name. The information lodged in Zara's mind like a splinter. Why are you telling me this? Because you remind me of her. Same fire. Same refusal to bend. He stood, joints creaking. There's a jimjilbang in Dongdaemun. Owner owes me a favor. Tell him Young sent you. You can stay 3 nights. After he left, Zara Googled Adiz Kim. Nothing. Scrubbed clean from the internet. But the knowledge that Ji-hoon was half Nigerian, half her, it shifted something in the war between them. The next morning, she stood outside Lux Noir as it opened for lunch service. The new bartender, they'd already replaced her, looked terrified when she entered. I need to speak to Ji-hoon. He's not. Yes, he is. His Bentley's outside. The manager appeared, face flushed. Zara, you can't. Tell him I'm here. He'll want to know. Minutes later, she was escorted to the VIP office she'd only cleaned, never entered as a guest. Ji-hoon sat behind a glass desk, suit impeccable, expression unreadable. Come to beg. Come to make you an offer. His eyebrow rose, the first genuine emotion she'd seen from him. You have nothing to offer. I have information about your mother. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. His stillness became predatory. My mother is dead. I know. Adiz Kim. Nigerian. Like me. His hand tightened on his crystal paperweight. Get out. Your obsession makes sense now. I'm not just some bartender who disrespected you. I'm a reminder of the half you've been taught to hate. He moved faster than she expected, pinning her against the wall. Not violently, but with intent that made her heart race. You know nothing about hatred. I know you've destroyed my life because I remind you of her. I've destroyed your life because you challenged me publicly. Don't romanticize your suffering. Then why haven't you finished it? Why the games? His breath warmed her neck. Because you don't break. Everyone breaks, but you just burn brighter. Let me go. From the wall or from my attention? Both. He stepped back, but his eyes held her in place. There's a way to end this. Publicly apologize.
Take a job at one of my clubs.
Under my protection. Your protection is ownership with prettier words. It's survival with dignity intact. My dignity doesn't need your permission to exist. She left his office with his offer unanswered, but they both knew something had shifted. The war between them had become personal in ways neither had expected. That evening, she discovered Temi at a Gangnam cafe, laughing with friends who used to be their friends. Zara stood outside, Kim's mark still faintly visible on her jacket, watching her best friend perform happiness. Temi saw her through the window. Their eyes met, a moment of raw recognition. Then Temi turned away, whispering something that made the entire table look out at Zara with mixtures of pity and disgust. One of them filmed her, standing there. By morning, #BrokeBarGirl would trend. Her phone buzzed. Ji-hoon, my offer expires at midnight. She typed back, then I have 6 hours to find option 3. There is no option 3. But Zara had survived Lagos flooding and Seoul winters. She'd learned to make jollof with kimchi when she couldn't afford proper ingredients. Option 3 was always there. It just required imagination and spite in equal measure. At 11:47 p.m., she sent him a photo from inside his mother's favorite restaurant. She'd found it in an old society magazine at the library, the only mention of Adiz Kim that had survived the digital purge. The restaurant owner, ancient and sharp-eyed, had recognized the name. She came every Tuesday, the old woman had said. Ordered kimchi jjigae with extra spice. Said it reminded her of home, though I never understood how Korean stew could remind anyone of Nigeria. Zara's message to Ji-hoon was simple. Your mother found option 3. So will I. His response came at 11:59. You're going to be fascinating to break. You're going to be disappointing to watch fail. At midnight, her phone rang. Not Ji-hoon, but a number she recognized, Moon Soo-jin. There's a position at my sister's restaurant in Busan. Real job, real pay, no Kim influence. Leave tonight. Escape handed to her on a silver platter. But running meant letting him win, letting everyone who'd betrayed her think she'd been defeated. Zara looked at her reflection in the Jimjilbang's cracked mirror. Thinner, harder, but unbroken. Thank you, but no. You're choosing to stay and fight him? I'm choosing to stay and survive him. There's a difference. After hanging up, she made one more decision. Tomorrow, she'd crash his VIP party at Lux Noir. If he wanted war, she'd give him spectacle. You and your traitor friend think you've won? I'm just getting started, you heartless bastard. Zara's voice cut through the VIP party's sophisticated jazz. The champagne flute in Ji-hoon's hand stilled midway to his lips. Every conversation in Lux Noir's private room died as she stood in the doorway, still wearing the paint-stained jacket, security guards frozen behind her in disbelief at her audacity. Temmie sat beside Ji-hoon on the white leather couch, her hand on his knee. The intimacy of the gesture explained everything: the betrayal, the viral video, the systematic destruction of Zara's reputation. How did you, the manager, started? I worked here for 2 years. I know every entrance. Zara stepped into the room, broken glass from some earlier celebration crunching beneath her feet, including the one your security forgot existed. Ji-hoon set down his champagne with deliberate calm. You're trespassing. And you're pathetic. Paying my best friend to destroy me because you couldn't do it yourself. Temmie's laugh tinkled false as cubic zirconia. Best friend? You were convenient. A fellow foreigner to complain with. Nothing more. The words hit harder than any physical blow, but Zara kept her eyes on Ji-hoon. Is this your big victory? Buying loyalty because you can earn respect. Respect. He stood slowly, designer suit catching the purple lights. From someone who sleeps in jimjilbangs? I sleep soundly. Can you say the same, or do you lie awake wondering why your mother chose death over raising you? The room gasped collectively. Ji-hoon's face went white, then red. His hand moved to grab her throat, but stopped inches away, trembling with restraint. One more word about her.
What?
You'll destroy my life? Already done. Kill me? Too messy for your Armani. You've got nothing left to threaten me with. I have everything. His voice dropped to sub-zero. Your parents in Lagos. Your sister's nursing school tuition. Your grandmother's medical bills. The revelation that he'd researched her family that deeply should have terrified her. Instead, it clarified everything. You're not a king. You're a child throwing tantrums because someone finally told you no. Security moved forward, but Ji-hoon raised his hand. Let her speak. It's her funeral oration. The only thing dying here is your reputation. She pulled out her phone, showing the live stream she'd started. 12,000 viewers watching the great Ji-hoon Kim threaten a homeless woman's elderly grandmother. Very gangster. Very impressive. He grabbed her phone, crushing it in his hand. Blood welled where the screen shattered against his palm. Now it's just us, he said. It's never just us. You travel with an army because you're terrified of being alone with yourself. Temmie stood, wobbling on her designer heels. Ji-hoon, baby, let security handle. Shut up. He didn't look at her, eyes locked on Zara. Everyone out. Sir, his lieutenant protested. Out. The room emptied like water through a drain. Even Temmie left, shooting Zara a look of pure venom. When the door closed, silence settled between them like fog. You want to know about my mother? Ji-hoon walked to the window overlooking Seoul's glittering sprawl. She thought love could bridge cultures. Nigerian passion and Korean ambition. She was wrong. She was brave. She was weak. Died crying for a homeland that had forgotten her and a son who reminded her of the man who'd caged her. Zara moved closer, drawn despite herself by the pain cracking through his voice. Your father caged her? My grandfather. After father died, grandfather took control. Locked her in this golden prison called Seoul High Society. She withered like a plucked flower. His reflection in the window looked haunted. The night she died, she was wearing Nigerian traditional dress. First time in 15 years. How did she?
Pills.
Gentle. Elegant. Korean to the end, despite her skin. His bitter laugh fogged the glass. I found her. 7 years old, thinking she was sleeping. Tried to wake her for 3 hours before grandfather arrived. The image of a child shaking his mother's cold body cracked something in Zara's chest. Ji-hoon. Don't. He turned, walls rebuilding. Don't you dare pity me. I don't. I pity the boy you were. The man you became chose cruelty. Cruelty keeps you alive in this city. Your mother didn't believe that. And look where it got her. They stood facing each other, the space between them charged with understanding neither wanted. Zara saw past the designer armor to the fractured soul beneath. Ji-hoon saw past her defiance to the exhaustion threatening to break her. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely stand. Have you ever felt that moment when everything you believed just shatters? Tell me in the comments, because right now, I need to know I'm not the only one who's been this afraid. His phone buzzed. The lieutenant's voice crackled through. Sir, there's a situation. The Huang family is moving on the Gangnam territory. Ji-hoon's expression hardened back to marble. Handle it. Sir, they're demanding a meeting. Tonight. They know you're distracted. He looked at Zara, calculation replacing vulnerability. You want to survive me?
Fine.
Here's your chance.
Come to this meeting.
Play the part of my woman. Sell it, and I'll lift the blacklist. I'm not your woman. You are if you want to eat next week. Why would you trust me not to sabotage you? Because despite everything, you have honor. It's why you infuriate me. He moved toward the door, then paused. Decide now. Once I leave this room, the offer disappears. She thought of the Jimjilbang's hard floor, the dwindling one in her pocket, the locked doors across Seoul. Then she thought of her mother's voice. Sometimes, child, you must dance with the devil to steal his fire. I'll need clothes. I can't meet anyone looking like this. His smile held too many edges. Temmie's apartment. She has a closet full of things she bought with my money. Take whatever fits. She won't. She will, or she'll join you on the streets. He opened the door, not looking back. Car arrives in 1 hour. Don't make me regret this. After he left, Zara stood alone in the VIP room, surrounded by empty champagne bottles and abandoned luxury. She'd agreed to perform intimacy with a man who destroyed her life. But she'd also seen him bleed, first his palm on her phone, then his soul through memories of his mother. Temmie's apartment in Cheongdam was exactly what Zara expected, marble and mirrors, cold as its inhabitant's heart. Temmie opened the door already drunk, mascara streaking her cheeks. Come to gloat. Come to borrow a dress. Ji-hoon's orders. Temmie laughed, ugly and sharp. He's using you just like he uses everyone. You think you're special because you fought back? You're just entertainment. And what are you? Honest about it. Temmie gestured to her walk-in closet. Take whatever. It's all his anyway. I'm just the mannequin. Zara selected a black dress. Elegant but not trying too hard. As she changed, Temmie watched from the doorway. I was already on his payroll when we met, Temmie admitted. Paid to befriend you. Report on you. For 2 years. He's been watching you longer than you know. You smiled at him once, at that cultural festival. Didn't recognize him. Just smiled at a stranger looking lost. He became obsessed. The revelation shifted everything. Every coincidence, every lucky break that had brought her to Lux Noir, orchestrated. Why tell me now? Because you're about to enter his real world. The one where rivals put bullets in skulls over territory disputes. The one where women disappear for knowing too much. Temmie's voice dropped.
Run.
Tonight. Take the dress and run. I can't. Then you're already dead.
You just don't know it yet.
The car was a black Genesis, bulletproof glass and silent driver. Ji-hoon waited inside, having changed into a darker suit. He assessed her appearance clinically. You clean up well. You bleed just like anyone else. He showed her his bandaged palm. Observant. Use that tonight. The Huang family controls Busan's ports. They want Seoul. Marriage alliance has been proposed. Their daughter for my hand. Congratulations. I'm refusing.
Publicly.
With you as the reason. Zara's throat tightened. You're making me a target. You made yourself one the moment you demanded I pay for that glass. I'm just pointing the arrow somewhere useful. The meeting took place in a traditional Hanok restaurant, private room overlooking a moonlit garden. The Huang patriarch sat across from them, his daughter beside him. Beautiful, young, terrified. Ji-hoon. The old man's voice carried decades of authority. We've come to discuss unity. There's nothing to discuss. Ji-hoon's hand found Zara's, the touch electric with performance. I'm spoken for. Huang's eyes dissected Zara. A foreigner? Have you lost your mind? I've found it. Ji-hoon lifted their joined hands, kissing Zara's knuckles. The gesture looked tender, but his grip warned, play along or pay. She's worth more than your ports. She's nobody. Nigerian trash you pulled from the gutter. Zara felt Ji-hoon tense, but she spoke first. This Nigerian trash speaks 4 languages, has a chemistry degree, and chose to tend bar because I enjoyed it. What's your daughter's achievement beyond being born? The girl flinched. Her father's face purpled. You dare. She dares everything. Ji-hoon interrupted, his voice carrying fatal pride. It's why she's mine. The possessive word should have angered her. Instead, she understood the game. Make them believe he'd chosen her over profit, love over logic. Make him seem human, unpredictable, dangerous in his devotion. This is a mistake, Huang said. She'll be your weakness. Or my strength. Ji-hoon stood, pulling Zara with him. The answer is no. Find another alliance. As they walked toward the door, Huang's voice followed. The Kim Empire was built on Korean blood. Your grandfather would roll in his grave. Ji-hoon paused. My grandfather died, choking on his own traditions. I won't make the same mistake. Outside, he released her hand immediately. You did well. I feel sick. That's conscience. It'll pass. Does yours? He looked at her, something raw flickering in his expression. It died with my mother. They drove in silence until the car stopped, not at the Jimjilbang but at a different building. A clean, modern apartment complex. 8th floor, Unit 803. He handed her a key. 1 month paid. After that, you're on your own. Why? Because you played your part. And because he stopped, jaw clenching. Just take it before I change my mind. She took the key, their fingers brushing. This doesn't make us even. Nothing will. He signaled the driver. There's something else. Your parents' wedding photo. I had my men investigate. Your father wasn't just Korean. He was connected to my grandfather's organization. Low level, but connected. The words rearranged her entire history. You're lying. Check the apartment. I left his file on the counter. The car doors started closing. Welcome to the family business, Zara. You were always part of it. As the Genesis disappeared into Seoul's arterial traffic, Zara stood holding the key to an apartment she didn't want, processing a truth she couldn't accept. Her father, her gentle, poetry-reading father, had been part of this world. The apartment was sparse, but clean. True to his word, a file waited on the counter. Photos of her father young, standing beside men she recognized from news reports about organized crime. Documents showing payments, territories, allegiances. Her phone, a cheap replacement she'd bought, buzzed with an unknown number. The Huang family doesn't forget insults, a woman's voice warned. Neither does Ji-hoon's grandfather's old guard. You've made enemies tonight. Who is this? Someone who knew Adiz. Someone who knows you're now caught between 2 wars. Ji-hoon's with his past, and yours with everyone who wants to use you to hurt him. The line went dead. Zara looked out at Seoul's lights, understanding finally that she hadn't just stood up to a man in a bar. She'd inserted herself into a generations-old conflict that had killed Ji-hoon's mother and corrupted her father.
Her phone buzzed again.
Ji-hoon, dinner tomorrow. Not a request. She typed back, I'm not your puppet.
No.
You're my problem. And I'm yours. Where something read. She almost threw the phone, but pragmatism won. She needed information, protection, and answers about her father. Ji-hoon had all 3. But the price, she was beginning to understand, might be higher than her pride. That night, she dreamed of her mother's voice singing Nigerian lullabies and her father writing Korean poetry, while blood money counted itself in the background. She woke to find a box outside her door. A red dress, designer label with a note. For someone who insists she's not mine, you're thinking about me at 3 a.m. She checked her phone at exactly that time, reading his message.
He'd known somehow.
The surveillance, the control, the cage bars being decorated with silk, all of it reminded her that she was playing chess with someone who'd been moving pieces since before she knew the game existed. But Zara had learned chess from her father, the man who'd apparently lived 2 lives. Maybe that heredity would save her. Or maybe it would destroy her just as thoroughly as Seoul had destroyed Adiz Kim. The next morning brought 3 deliveries, groceries she hadn't ordered, a laptop she couldn't afford, and a single photo, her and Ji-hoon at the hammock, his lips against her hand, looking for all the world like lovers instead of adversaries forced into performance. Someone had already begun spreading the narrative. By noon, the photo would be across Seoul's social circuits. The foreign woman who'd tamed the untamable prince. The nobody who'd made him refuse a profitable marriage. She was no longer Zara Okoye, unemployed bartender. She was Ji-hoon Kim's woman, whether she agreed or not. The trap had closed, soft as silk, tight as wire. And somewhere in Gangnam, in a tower touching clouds, Ji-hoon stood at his window knowing he'd won this round. But victory, he was learning, tasted different when your opponent's surrender looked so much like steel disguised as silk. He touched his bandaged palm where her phone had cut him, remembering her eyes when she'd learned about her father. The same look his mother had worn learning about grandfather's business, betrayal mixed with the terrible understanding that love and violence had always been intertwined in their families. You wanted war, he murmured to the city. Now we're both soldiers in it. His lieutenant knocked, entering with news. The Huang family is mobilizing. They've put a price on the woman. Double our security on her building. Sir, perhaps it would be wiser to. She doesn't die. Not by their hands, not by mine. Ji-hoon turned from the window. She's the only honest enemy I've ever had. That makes her precious. Or dangerous. Both. His smile held winter and won in equal measure. Definitely both. Meanwhile, Zara stood in her borrowed apartment, wearing the red dress because defiance required energy she didn't have, preparing for dinner with a man who destroyed her life and might be the only one who could save it. The irony would have been delicious if it didn't taste so much like her mother's warnings about men who showed love through possession. But she wasn't her mother, and Ji-hoon, despite his claims, wasn't his grandfather. They were something new, something neither of them had words for yet. Something that would either burn Seoul down or forge it into something unrecognizable. You're not weak for loving me, Ji-hoon. You're weak for denying it. The words hung between them in the warehouse air, thick with blood and cordite. Zara pressed her palm against the gash on Ji-hoon's shoulder where the knife had gone deep, trying to stem the bleeding while 3 bodies of their kidnappers lay scattered across the concrete floor. Love. His laugh came wet, pained. You think this is love? I think you took a blade meant for me. I think you've been circling me like a satellite since that night at Lux Noir. I think your mother loved someone once and it destroyed her, and you're terrified of the same fate. He grabbed her wrist, blood making his grip slick. Stop talking. The truth hurts worse than that shoulder, doesn't it? 6 hours earlier, she'd been reading the files he'd hidden in his penthouse safe, documents she'd found while he showered, explaining everything. Adiz Kim hadn't killed herself. She'd been murdered, poison disguised as suicide, ordered by grandfather Kim when she'd tried to leave with young Ji-hoon. The truth had been scrubbed, buried beneath millions in bribes and threats. Your grandfather killed her because she wanted to take you to Nigeria, Zara said quietly. She wasn't weak. She was trying to save you. His face crumbled, the marble mask finally shattering completely. How? The files you thought were destroyed. Your lieutenant kept copies, insurance against you. I found them when I broke into his apartment last night. You did what? I needed leverage. Instead, I found the truth you've been running from for 20 years. Sirens wailed closer. Ji-hoon struggled to stand, favoring his left side where another cut bled through his shirt. The Huang family's kidnapping attempt had been brutal, efficient, and ultimately fatal for them. We need to leave, he managed. You need a hospital. Hospital means questions. Questions mean police. Police mean, I know a place. She helped him to his feet, his weight heavy against her shoulder. The man who'd orchestrated her destruction now depended on her for survival. The poetry of it would have been beautiful if not for the blood trail they left behind. Dr. Park, who ran an underground clinic for those who couldn't afford Korean healthcare, didn't ask questions when Zara arrived with Ji-hoon bleeding through designer clothes. He'd stitched her up once after a bar fight. Now he worked on the man who'd caused her far worse wounds. He'll live, Dr. Park announced after 2 hours.
But he needs rest.
Real rest, not whatever passes for it in his world. Ji-hoon lay unconscious on the narrow bed, vulnerable in ways his waking self would never permit. Zara sat beside him, studying the face that had haunted her nightmares and recently, against her will, her dreams. His phone buzzed. The lieutenant. Where is he? The old guard is moving. She typed back. Safe. Stand down. Who is this? The woman who knows about the insurance files you've been keeping. Want to discuss them? Silence. Then, what do you want? A meeting. Tomorrow. Alone. She deleted the conversation, then found the other message thread, the mysterious woman who'd warned her about the Huang family. She typed, I know who you are, Mrs. Park. Adi's friend. We need to talk. Ji-hoon stirred, eyes focusing slowly on her face. You stayed. You're hurt because of me. I'm hurt because the Huang family can't accept rejection. He tried to sit up, winced, fell back. How bad? You'll heal. Your pride might not. My pride died when I realized you'd gotten under my skin like splinters I can't remove. Romantic.
Honest.
His hand found hers, fever warm. The files you mentioned were real. I know what your grandfather did. I know why you've been punishing yourself through everyone else. His fingers tightened. Don't psychoanalyze me. Then don't lie to me. Not anymore. They sat in loaded silence until he spoke again. Your father was trying to get my mother out. That's why he was connected to the organization. He was helping her escape. The revelation repositioned everything. But she died before they could run. Your father disappeared to Nigeria shortly after, met your mother, tried to forget. But you can't forget this world. It follows you. Is that why you've been watching me? Because our parents. I've been watching you because you smiled at me at that festival like I was human. No one had done that in years. So you destroyed my life? I tried to own you. It's the only way I knew to keep something. But you can't own fire. You just get burned. Dr. Park returned with antibiotics. He needs somewhere safe to recover. The clinic isn't secure enough. My apartment, Zara heard herself say. Ji-hoon's eyes widened. The one I gave you? The one where we figure out what happens next. Because this war, these families, it ends now. 3 days passed in strange domesticity. Ji-hoon healing on her couch, Zara cooking Nigerian stews that filled the apartment with warmth. They didn't talk about the intimacy of her feeding him when his shoulder made lifting difficult, or how he'd traced her movements with hungry eyes. On the 4th day, Mrs. Park arrived, an elegant Korean woman in her 60s carrying a box of letters. Adiz wrote these to your father, she told Zara. They were planning to raise you and Ji-hoon together, away from all this violence. Ji-hoon read his mother's words, written in careful Korean mixed with Nigerian endearments. Love letters to a future that never came, plans for children who would grow up free. She loved you, Mrs. Park told him, more than her own life. That's why she stayed as long as she did, trying to find legal ways to take you. And my grandfather killed her for it. Your grandfather feared losing control of you, the empire, the bloodline. Fear makes monsters of men. After Mrs. Park left, Ji-hoon stood at the window, shoulders tense despite healing wounds. I've become him. Everything she died trying to prevent. You're still choosing to be him, Zara corrected. But you could choose differently. It's not that simple. The organization, the families, the obligations. Your mother found a way out. She just didn't live to take it. He turned to her, something desperate in his expression. Come with me. Where? Anywhere that isn't Seoul. Anywhere we can be different people. Running isn't redemption. Then what is? She crossed to him, touching his face with careful fingers. Making this city better than we found it. Your mother and my father failed because they tried to escape. We succeed by transforming what trapped them. You're talking about war with the old guard. I'm talking about evolution. Legitimate businesses. Clean money. The future your mother wanted. They'll fight us. Then we fight back. Together. The word hung between them, weighted with possibility. Ji-hoon pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. This is insane. Sanity hasn't worked for either of us. He kissed her then, soft at first, then with 20 years of hunger behind it. When they broke apart, breathless, the city lights witnessed their quiet revolution beginning. Marry me, he said suddenly. You already forced that once. No contracts this time. No threats. Just, he struggled for words foreign to his vocabulary. Just us. Ask me again when you're not high on painkillers and rebellion. I'll ask every day until you say yes. Then ask better. I'm worth more than desperate proposals in borrowed apartments. His smile transformed his face, years falling away. You're worth everything I have to give, and more I haven't learned exists yet. A knock interrupted them. The lieutenant stood in the doorway, gun drawn. Step away from her, sir. Lower your weapon, Sung-ho.
She knows about the files.
She's a threat. She's my future. The lieutenant's finger tensed on the trigger. Your grandfather's contingency orders were clear. If you ever chose love over loyalty. The gunshot was loud in the small space. The lieutenant fell, Mrs. Park standing behind him with a smoking pistol. I failed Adiz once, she said calmly. Not again. Ji-hoon stared at his fallen lieutenant, then at the woman who'd been shadow guardian to his mother. You've been watching too. Someone had to. Your enemies aren't all external, Ji-hoon. They disposed of the body professionally. This was Seoul's underworld, where corpses disappeared easier than deaths. But the lieutenant's death marked a line crossed. The old guard would know by morning. That night, Zara and Ji-hoon lay entwined on her narrow bed, mapping escape routes on each other's skin. We have maybe a week before they come, he murmured against her throat. Then we have a week to burn down the old and build the new. You sound like my mother. Good. She sounds like she was brilliant. His arms tightened around her. Stay. Not just tonight. Through whatever comes next. Even if it kills us? Especially then. At least we'll die as ourselves, not the people they tried to make us. Romantic and morbid. Honest, he corrected, kissing her shoulder. For the first time in my life, completely honest. Dawn brought reality. 57 missed calls on Ji-hoon's phone. The family's demanding answers. The old guard circling. Ready? Zara asked, already dressed for war in the red dress he'd given her. With you? Always. They walked out together into Seoul's morning light, prepared to either revolutionize the city's shadow economy or die trying. But first, one stop, Uedo Park, where cherry blossoms bloomed despite the season. Ji-hoon knelt among the petals, pulling out a ring that had been his mother's. Zara Okoye, will you marry me? Not as property or possession, but as my equal partner in whatever madness comes next. She looked at him, the man who destroyed her, saved her, chosen her, and saw their parents' failed revolution waiting to be completed.
Yes.
But we do this my way. Which is, we build something worth inheriting. Something Adiz and my father would recognize as victory. He slipped the ring on her finger, and Seoul itself seemed to hold its breath. Two children of different worlds, united by shared ghosts and the promise of transformation. Their kiss tasted like redemption and revolution in equal measure. Tomorrow would bring blood and boardrooms, bullets and business deals. But today, in this moment, they were simply Zara and Ji-hoon, not Nigerian or Korean, not victim or villain, just two people choosing love over the legacy of violence that had shaped them. The old guard would never understand. That's why they'd win.